I didn't know what the Jew looked like, because we lived in a worker suburb, and I had had only 1 year of school, and all that I didn't know. But that was the first homework we had to do, was to draw a Jew. So I asked my mother, what is a Jew? He said, well, dark hair, glasses, or something I just do. I made it up. I wasn't shown. I had to make up something that doesn't exist, that didn't exist in a way.
My name is Fredy Raphael. Raphael is my family name, and I teach sociology at the University of Strasbourg. It's difficult to know if I am an Alsatian. I say yes, but I am not always considered as an Alsatian because I am Jewish. I was a child during the war, but not in Alsace. Alsace was Judenrein. No Jews had the right to go on living here. So I was in the Vichy, in the France of Vichy.
When the war started, within 24 hours, Strasbourg was evacuated. 380,000 people were sent to the south of France. It was dreadful, but it saved our Jews. But it didn't save them really, because who arrested them? Vichy. The French collaborated. And then after the war, because of our accent, we are called sale bouche, n'est-ce pas? Here are photographs that were brought to me of Strasbourg during the evacuation.
When I ask people today to remember often here in Alsace of the picture they have in memory, often they don't remember a precise picture.
I do. Oh,
but they remember,
I see today.
They remember slogans, gestures that are inscribed in their bodies.
These two words, fascism and fascinating, have the same root, which we find in the words fire or focus. A fascio in Italian is a bundle of lights, made up of little lights, which put together are much more shining than if they were on their own. They exercise, of course, a mesmerizing effect on the human who looks at them. So that's the link. It's something which burns and something which is reflected in the eyes of the beholder, and which draws the beholder closer to the light at the risk of being burnt himself.
These are figurines made for children to play with. To play with this kind of material is already part of the initial brainwashing. Learn as you play and follow as you play.
For me, my first reaction is to see this like a kind of ideal image of the society and of the entire society that totalitarian state wants to build. And this image of people walking in order, everybody is in order, working with the same pace, working with the same gesture, and in which all the political is hidden in a kind of huge festival. And you have an exact image of a whole society, of an ideal of the totalitarian society, not only the Nazi
society. And a moving ideal.
And a moving ideal.
Have you noticed that they are all marching?
They are all marching.
They are all marching. Wir werden weiter marschieren, wenn alles in Scherben fällt. If everything falls apart, we'll keep on marching.
People remember the noise of the boots on the pavement, and when you are a member of this crowd and you hear these boots, you are taken away in that kind of movement, of collective movement.
As a child, when the Americans arrived on their Gummisohlen, I said, but those are not soldiers.
No.
Those are not soldiers. You don't hear them walking.
You didn't hear them walking.
You don't hear them walking.
Here you hear the ideology walking.
Yeah.
They give an idea of collective force which is given to every part of them. You are yourself, but you are no longer yourself. You are part of this collective force going on, and who unites also all the generation.
And feeding sense of security and of happiness. I see it on the farm when I have one sheep away from the herd. It's terribly unhappy.
Exactly.
It's calling for the others.
Exactly.
And it's calling for the others.
Exactly.
Ein Volk, ein Führer, ein Reich, ein Land.
Fascism is, we say in French, une épure, like a sketch. It's making human reality much simpler. It's pretending that there is only one model of man, one model of society. It's the refusal of contradiction.
This is the art magazine of the time. That's 1941, so that was in my time.
Ça, c'est l'art officiel. Tu vois.
C'est l'art officiel.
Oh, ça a apparu 6 ou 7 ans.
Oui. And there you can, in this magazine, you can follow, you see the German trend, the German trend in art, health, strength, and always the art has, just like in the communist world, the mother, the family, the worker, the farmer.
Fascist art is what they give you to see. There is no behind the portrait of the ideal, handsome young hero.
Oh, and this is typical. No, this is really just like everywhere else. Whether you go in Iraq and Saddam Hussein or whatever, you see that same kind of art form.
It's a dream of refinding a simple beauty where body and soul are supposed to be easy to unite.
The only ones we don't have are the dead and the ones in the wheelchairs.
But the deads are here, because the deads are here in the flags, you see.
Ihr seid nicht tot. Ihr lebt in Deutschland.
The blood of the ancestors.
The blood of the
That's
ancestors.
what we told. The red was the blood of the ancestors.
Exact. Also the blood of the heroes who had fallen in that kind of struggle. And what I see here, in that kind of people marching on, you have the dynamic and the rigidity of these people, the rigidity of the walk. It's a kind of walking in a mechanically way that gives this impression of irresistible power. And also there is a kind of relation between the machines and the people. There is no break. There is a kind of osmosis of coming together.
Look at the quality of this. There's no rubber there. Hein? Ça, c'est du métal. Tiens ça dans la main.
Ah ouais, c'est heavy. Ah. It's also, you cannot resist it.
No.
Voilà, je crois que...
The child that plays with that wants to be in it,
Exactly.
go out there
And to go on.
and do it.
Exactly.
Führerbefehl, wir folgen.
Here, yes. We follow you.
It's all there in that sentence.
Yes.
You don't have to think.
Think.
The Führer is doing
Things
all the
for
thinking
you. For you.
And Fredy, if you look here, this is absolutely astonishing. This is Hitler at his very beginning. Quite humble, quite... and then there's a whole progression. And And here you have Goebbels, you have two Goebbels, no, we have three Goebbels. So we have three Goebbels, so that makes a lot of propaganda. And this one is extremely Rudolf Hess, who ran away. And then Göring in all his attires. Regarde-moi ça. Look how he's going. I mean, really.
The marshal. And at the same time, I think there is a kind of contrast. You have Hitler standing in a kind of stiffness. The chief is not walking. He's looking while the people are passing on, and that kind of contrast of the whole huge wave of people marching on, and the chief here on the pulpit is also very powerful.
One died for a little picture one carried of the Führer, because also these chiefs of the flock personified in a perfect fashion the fatherland. I would not call it motherland because it's very male.
Die Partei ist Hitler! Hitler aber ist Deutschland, wie Deutschland Hitler ist! Hitler, Sieg! Sieg!
I was not a good pupil in school, but I could draw. And I was admired because they say, the Führer needs a good artist just like he needs good workers, just like he needs everybody. Everybody has its place. Everybody has its place in this huge plan. You felt good. You just felt good.
Hitler and all the people of the regime knew quite well that they needed aesthetic to bring this ideology. They are playing on emotion.
If they were all wearing white shirts, for instance, it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work at all.
It wouldn't work with white shirts.
Yeah.
With grey shirts, it would be too neutral. That's for the army. Basically, we have brown and black. If I had to design a uniform, I wouldn't think of this brown. But on the other hand, before the war, in the Boy Scouts, we had brown shirts too.
The young people here were very free as long as they were in the party in the Jungvolk. They could react against their parents, and they felt as young adults already.
You know, in school, we were told that if we denounced our parents, we would be given 200 marks and then sent to one of the official schools. I've never known of one case in Alsace, but still, just imagine.
But here, as you said, for young people, it was not only, it was exalting.
It was great. Everything went on singing.
Exactly. The whole world was theirs. But the finality of that kind of regime, that when you have in your body the songs, the slogans, the gesture, and you don't trust the other, at the end you no longer trust yourself. Children can be fascinated by the uniforms. And now I think that today people, adults, are maybe not always fascinated by uniform, but they are still fascinated by very simple ideas, by ideology which are based on hatred, on the way of despising other people, and it's also for me a kind of uniform. We are now in a part of France who had a special history, and what I think that we should be confronted with that history, not to cover it, not to push it back, but try to understand why it worked, why it works so powerfully, and what makes them go on, still go on, and hate, how a religion of hatred can still fascinate people today. It's not a past history for me. I cannot get rid of that history. I cannot get rid because I have at home a picture, a small picture. You have two children in a kind of sailor dress. One is my cousin, and he's 2 years older than I am. He disappeared in Auschwitz. I am surviving. This is a scandal. I cannot get rid of this scandal that I am still alive. He's no longer alive. What is unbearable for me, who has survived, I don't know why and how. It was mere luck, it was mere chance. So when I see people are still or again fascinated with that kind of cult of power, of violence, it's terrible, because what I have gone through and all the other Jews has no longer any meaning and sense if we just start again in the same way.